The reason why one race thinks they're better than the other is because they acquire technology. If you look at Africa, the reason why they are able to introduce their religion, their language, is because of the gunpowder. Our fathers fought, but they didn't have the gunpowder. So true. Technology defeated them.
What's up, guys? How are you doing today? It's Tayo Aino here again, and guys, I'm currently in South Africa, and beside me is Mr. Fred Eboka, who is the founder of Eboka, which is one of the biggest fashion brands in Africa. Today we're going to be discussing with him a story about how he got started, how You're Nigerian.
Absolutely, 100%.
So how did you get started in
wow, that's
fashion
a
journey?
little bit of a very long story, considering how young I am.
Okay.
You know? I actually started in Nigeria when I was very young. I have two sisters, and they are always interested in clothing, as you know, Nigerian women.
Yeah.
You know, so that was how I started. Eventually, I went to Yaba College of Tech to study fashion. It's one of the most exciting exposure that I have in fashion, thanks to all the people like Tony Jones, that really influence us a lot. Because by the time I traveled to the States to study fashion and textile in Philadelphia University, I realized that I came with a body of knowledge. That was my beginning in the States. Then I further went to study visual communication at Tyler School of Art. From there, I started my brand, and which was quite coincidental, because I have a very good friend who had a hair salon. So I usually go there, and I was looking for a job in visual communication. I then realized it's so difficult to get into that industry. So I decided to work for somebody for some time, for free, just to get some knowledge. And eventually I started making things, and I would go to my friend's salon, and those things would be bought off me, mainly men's clothing. And that was how I then opened my studio in Philadelphia. So I'm not one of those people who are so fond of America as a place to live. And people my age, actually at that time, we wanted to come back home.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. We love our country to pieces. You know, it was Nigeria or nowhere. So we wanted to come back home, because that was essentially why we left the country. We left the country to get training and come back home. You know, but home became more and more difficult. So we then considered the alternative of coming to South Africa, and that was how we got into South Africa. And then I established the Eboka brand in South Africa.
And what was that process like?
I will tell you that there is something very unique, I think. Having traveled in different places in the world, there is something unique about being a Nigerian. And that unique thing is that we have this unique ability to just go anywhere and just run the engine. I don't know. When I said I was coming here, people thought I was totally insane. And my friends would say, "Are you crazy? Why don't you stay in America?" And I'm like, the main reason why I came to America is to get the kind of education that's going to make me contribute to Africa, anywhere in Africa. So my thing is that I am better in Africa than stay in America. I kind of have the belief that with the amount of knowledge I have, and with the kind of culture I'm coming from, I can only think about success. And that's how life is. What you think, it's what you tend to work towards. And the universe then open up for you.
In establishing this business, because I know probably during that period there was this whole white, black thing.
Yes, yes.
Did you encounter any of that? Was that part of the challenges of actually starting up?
I'll be very honest to you. The less I knew about the complication, the better it was for me. Even though I was aware, and you must remember, what really helped me a lot is that I grew up in a country where racism was not common knowledge. I have to learn about racism in America, and it pissed me off because I couldn't understand. I was brought up to be special, so it was like, hey, wake up call that some parts of the world think they're better than us. But so it was a challenge. It made me learn a whole lot of things. But even then, when I came to South Africa, not knowing racism deeply helped me, because it didn't create that boundary for me.
For you.
I kind of just started bulldozing everywhere. In fact, one of my first clients was Patricia Craner, who was the mayor of Cape Town. He was the last white mayor of Cape Town then.
Oh, wow.
And followed by Jane Raffaelli, who owns chains of magazines like Opera Magazine, Cosmopolitan, Marie Claire, and all those magazines. So it was layers and layers of those kind of white clientele, Germans, Jews, Austrians, whoever, name it. And they would invite me to their homes, they would have parties for me. It was incredible. And most of the designers then were all white. I was the only black designer then.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So, and it was very difficult then to be top South African designer, because you go through a board that will interview you, try to see your work, your experience, which is very good because they are able to filter who they have at the top. The reason why one race thinks they're better than the other is because they acquire technology. If you look at Africa, the reason why they are able to introduce their religion, their language, is because of the gunpowder. Our fathers fought, but they didn't have the gunpowder. So technology defeated them. So if you want to develop as a people, you must develop science and technology to put you ahead. There was a time Japan conquered Russia. They went and dominated China. They went and dominated Korea. Why? Technology. Japan is a very small country. And today, Japan is respected so highly in the world because of technology. Today, China has become on top of the whole thing because why? Technology. If you don't produce or manufacture or have your own technology, you go to the bottom. If you keep carrying a Holy Ghost fire and all those things, nobody respects any group of people that doesn't produce. In fact, they conquer them. Why did the Romans conquer the West, the Europeans, the Germans now, the French, because they were under Roman Empire, they were slaves to the Romans. It's because they were not civilized, they were just living like Africans at that time. A lot of people thought, we are the one that wear bone on our nose. It was the Germans who wore bone on their nose.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have, the Germans had juju doctors. They lived in those, in the rocks, and in summer they lived in those thatch roof kind of round houses. And the Romans simply went there, just wiped them out. And the only thing is that the Roman removed all their culture and replaced them with the Roman. What you call Western civilization today is actually Roman civilization, which the Roman inherited from the Egyptian and the Greek. If black people want to stop racism, it has to start from Nigeria. Why?
Why do you say Nigeria?
Because Nigeria has the highest population
of black people.
Every 1 out of 5 people black in the world is a Nigerian.
True.
So we are the drawdown of black race. If we develop technology and our confidence goes up, our country manufacture, we can defend ourselves, nobody can bully us, then immediately the kind of respect people have for your race goes up. A white man will conveniently collaborate with Dangote.
True.
Because he brings a lot of things to the table. You can be invited to United Nations and become part of the G20 meeting, but you don't put anything on the table. Nothing. The oil and the gold, they get it for nothing already. So it's not on the table. They bully you, you even reduce the price. So you can start to negotiate when you are bringing something on the table to alleviate respect for your race. If all you have to put on the table is that God creates us equal, that's the biggest bullshit, because that thing doesn't work. And we know that. True. They know that better. So we really have to live in the 21st century and change our way of thinking to a more civilized, developed thinking, so we can be competitive with people who are on the top. There was a time the Chinese was like, nobody respected them. If you say something is made in China, nobody respects them.
Yeah, true.
Today, nobody can bully China.
Yeah.
Why? Because they quietly elevated. One thing I respect about the Chinese, they don't even talk about racism, because they were quiet in developing their science and technology.
True.
Right? They made China the production hub for the world. Whether you like it or not, you want to produce in China. And we in Africa, we are supposed to learn from that. And we are supposed to be stubborn and say, hell, we are going to produce in Africa. You know, I went to China to produce my products. I went there with my daughter, met a friend of mine in China, and I was privileged to go around these factories, look at how they are doing things and stuff. And I sit back overnight in the hotel, and I started thinking. And I said to myself, why is it that after all my education, after all my knowledge, I'm going to give people who have 10% of my knowledge production? I said, I've got to go back and solve a problem. There is a problem. I'm going to go back, educate people about what we are lacking, and be realistic about it. You know, it's a problem. We have to solve it. We have to change the way we think. We have to be angry with ourselves, and we have to understand this is a survival for us. We have to produce in Africa. If we're going to eat chocolate, we have to produce chocolate.
Yeah.
If we're going to dress in something that looks like Gucci, we have to produce something that looks like that. We shouldn't be depending for somebody else to give us what we're drinking.
What kind of upbringing do you have?
I'm from relatively what you call humble family in Nigeria. My parents were not rich, and that's why I have to start working from 15. I actually started making clothes around 16 years old. I was making belts and just to survive. You know, I did a whole lot of things, paint people's houses. And when I was in College of Tech, I was practically taking care of myself. I didn't have anybody visit. In fact, the 3 months holidays we normally have, sometimes I'm in the campus. You know, it toughened me. It made me realize that complaint doesn't get you anything.
Anywhere.
Yeah, my mom always tell me that. My dad always tell me that you can complain all you want. You have to develop the ability to solve your problem. So that was the foundation of a shift of my paradigm in my outlook to life. Like, nobody owes me anything. I have to constantly solve a problem. Everything is a problem.
Now, what are some of the challenges you faced as a designer?
Well, some of the challenges I face, it's a common challenge to every businessman in Africa. The inability to access proper funding, the inability to access proper distribution network, because Africa has not created that environment, which is a common challenge to many designers. In fact, especially the younger designers, because you do need these things, and these things cannot be done by designers. It's done within the business environment, within the government policies, within what the government wants from the industry. Fashion and textile industry is not, even though the government will talk about it, but they don't really understand it. They don't understand the value and how important it is in creating employment in a society like an African society, and how it is the foundation of industrialization. I was talking to the former Japanese ambassador because I was doing things for the wife at that point in time. And I had a dinner in their house, and we were talking about why Africa is where it is. And he was explaining that many people didn't know that Japan used to do a lot in textile and fashion because they have moved on to high tech. And that Africa keep losing the opportunity to build their industrialization through textile and fashion because the government doesn't really take it seriously. And if we don't take it seriously, it's going to actually rob off a lot of opportunity to develop, because you have to produce what you eat, or you have to eat what you produce. You have to produce what you wear, or you have to wear what you produce. Either way.
That's very true.
Yeah.
That's very true. I totally agree with that myself. What are some of the highlights of your career?
The highlight is that it's given me the opportunity to meet a whole lot of interesting people. I mean, Mark Shuttleworth, who is the South African astronaut, was my client at one point in time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The guy who measured the laser beam that they shot from Earth to space to be able to fly Apollo 11, Hal Walker, was one of my clients. So these are people you ordinarily you won't meet. That's why I talk about science and technology so much.
Yeah, because you mentioned an astronaut and somebody who...
Yeah, because you say I'm a designer. Why is he talking about science and technology? Because design is science and technology. People don't understand. The machine we use, all the equipments we use, is a product of science and technology. And we have to think as scientists. If you want to be a good designer, you have to think as a scientist. You have to be innovative. It's given me the privilege of meeting a whole lot of people. I mean, the First Lady of South Africa is my client. Wow. So ordinarily, I wouldn't have been able to mingle with people like that. So those are all privileges. In life, it's not so much of what you do, it's where it takes you. It's not the money you make, it's the difference you make. And success is when your activity enriches the life of other people, when it creates them happiness. In my opinion, that is success.
Not just material things,
not
the cars, not the houses.
No.
What's your advice to a lot of young entrepreneurs out there who have seen what you're able to achieve and want to find success in whatever it is that they're doing? What's your advice to them, a lot of African entrepreneurs?
Success in everything comes from your own personal value and principles and your outlook to life. And I think you are successful because you can solve problems. Dangote is successful because he can solve problems.
Yeah.
He always speaks on, how can I solve this problem? He's not thinking, how can I make this money? He couldn't be thinking, how can I make this money if he's doing the kind of project that actually can run him bankrupt.
True.
But his picture is way bigger than personal gain. As long as you keep your picture bigger than your personal gain, people's interests become your interest, and how to solve it become your pleasure, and that will make you a successful person. So I sometimes feel very sorry for young designers, especially in my field. People don't even know what it means to be a designer. They don't understand what it means in the society. They think it's a waste. Go ask my dad. He fought me when I said I want to be a designer. As far as he's concerned, it's a failure. You know what I mean? And it truly so, because his frame of references is directed to your son is not going to be able to afford for himself, right? But if you are born in Europe, I think your parents will be very excited that you are going to be the next Armani, you are going to be the next Valentino, you are going to be the next neighborhood designer who has a yacht in the ocean and things like that, because there are a lot of references and they take themselves very seriously. The industry is there, the market is there, the retail, everything is there. But in Africa, we don't have that.
What can the young people do about that?
What they can do about that, they have, on the personal basis, I will advise them to be realistic. If you want to design, you must know that your work, first of all, must earn you a living. You must put more of your effort in your craft to master your craft and build your clientele gradually. The fame will come. It will come. But if you put the fame ahead, then you get intoxicated with the fame. And the real thing gets left behind. Even if you are given a project, somebody say make 200 dresses. You can't, because you have not created that foundation. Put the sweat first. Put the hard work first. Those sweat and hard work will elevate you to the fame, if there's anything like that. Because I don't think I'm famous anyway.
Thank you very much. I think that's a good way to wrap up this interview. Thanks a lot for having me and sharing your story with me too. Thank you guys for watching this video. That's all we have to share with you today. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys on the next one. I have more videos coming from South Africa, so you guys should stay tuned.